In this video, we're going to cover the most important words and phrases for CELPIP writing and speaking that not only give you marks for vocabulary, also they give you marks for a range of grammatical usage, good structures, good task response, and it helps you express yourself 10 times better. And we are doing away with small basic stuff. In fact, we're switching to different versions of one-worded, two-worded, three-worded, plus connectors, words and phrases, comparatives, and so much more. So let's get started. The first list you need to understand is of 4 words: thus, furthermore, moreover, hence. Guys, use them whenever you're changing paragraphs, when you're getting to conclusions, or you're adding new points. Using these types of words instead of basic words like and, firstly, secondly, and so, instead of them, if you use the advanced wordings, you stand out and right away create good first impressions in writing and speaking towards the examiner. The next one-worded list you want to pay attention to is comparisons. Here, you want to use words like similar, contrasting, equally, and distinct. This is used when you're comparing 2 or 3 things, especially in questions like Task 2 of CELPIP writing, or Task 7 of CELPIP speaking, or Task 5 of CELPIP speaking, and so many times more. For example, when you want to express your option is better than the other, you can say the distinct quality about this one is, you could say the similar quality about the other one is, and so on. Next, we want to be assertive, especially when you are giving points, suggestions, or using comparisons. Here, the one-worded words you could use which are advanced are certainly, clearly, absolutely, or undoubtedly. When you state your opinion, for example in Task 2 writing, and you say undoubtedly, this option will have these benefits, you sound confident, it is tone appropriate, and guess what? All these last 4 words that I mentioned are adverbs. They have le's in them. That make for the advanced wordings because very few people use adverbs. Plus, they give you the range that many students don't use. The next word list you want to focus on is informal words. So again, you don't want to use formal wordings when you're talking to friends or family. Here, use words like hey, thanks, instead of thank you, sure, and things like fabulous or awesome. When you say fabulous or awesome, it is more friendly and it is natural. It is not saying something like it is highly recommended, which would be okay if it were formal. But this is informal. Keep it informal and tone appropriate. Finally, at the end of our one-word list, we have the formal words, of course, to balance it out. And here we have words like concur, which means agreement. I concur with this idea. The next word is implement. Whenever you want to implement certain projects, I should implement or we should implement this. Usually when we're giving suggestions, we could use a word like that. The next word is exemplify, and the last word is facilitate. Again, usage is multiple. When you have a certain thing that exemplifies a certain characteristic, you can use that word. When you're saying that this idea will facilitate this, then you are explaining something in a breakdown with good elaboration and examples. So very, very handy to use. Now let's move on to 2-worded connectors. Here we have, again, a range that we're throwing at the examiner, which is why you need to understand this video from the start till the end. You cannot use just one version. 1 words, no. 2 words, no. Use 1, 2, 3, 4 words and a combination to help your case in writing and speaking. Let's talk about connectors. You want to use words like as well as, in contrast, in addition. Very good whenever you're adding points and adding multiple ideas or paragraphs. The next is comparisons, and here you have some really advanced wordings. For example, this is strikingly different, this is similarly beneficial, or these two are closely aligned. Again, we're trying to use words and phrases that could show comparisons in a similar setting or when you're comparing 2 completely different things. Let's talk about assertive wordings, and here you have without doubt, most certainly, beyond question. So you could say stuff like in speaking Task 7, beyond question, this option provides way more pros to it than cons, considering blah, blah, blah. So assertive wordings will help you be tone appropriate where you are giving an opinion and explaining the benefits. Now, the next set of words is with informal words, and here we have things like got it, sounds good, or feel free. Feel free to let me know, or feel free to talk to me about this. This is perfect for your conclusions in informal speaking and writing questions, and so are words like got it or sounds good. Now, let's talk about formal wordings. Intrinsically is again an adverb. This is one word, but I wanted to include this in this list because it is something that you can use as a replacement for something basic like basically said by everybody, right? You want to use words like intrinsically, which is the same thing as basically, but just does that job 10 times better. The next words you could use are in essence, again, similar to basically, then underlying issue when there is something negative. So you could talk about the underlying issue, the underlying problem is very useful for task 1 or task 5, task 4 of speaking, task 8 of speaking, and task 1 of writing, certainly when you're mentioning problems with your apartment or your company. An underlying issue with this company is, and so on. Helps you with advanced words usage. Now guys, let's jump into the 3-word words, and these are actually phrases. So let's have a look at some of them. The first is, again, our list of connectors. Once again, we're throwing in a variation for the examiner. We want to use words like to begin with, on the other hand, for this reason. I guess the first two on the list are pretty simple. The third one, for this reason, is when you're building on to a point. So you explain something and now you want to say, for this reason, we need to ensure that we have blah, blah, blah in place. So when you're giving an example, instead of for example, you could say for this reason, and then give the benefits or the cons of that reason. The next is comparisons. Now here you have some really good words. In a similar vein, which means in much the same way. In stark contrast, when you're comparing two completely different things. And worth noting that, now again, when you are talking about something in a diplomatic way, you could say that, look, both have pros or cons, but it is worth noting that this option does not come with this. However, this option comes with this. And again, that shows that you are addressing some side, but then bashing it after using something like, it is worth noting that. A very good connector, and it is a good plug-in to your next thing you're about to say. Let's have a look now at the assertive words, and here you could use words like I am convinced, without a doubt, no question that. No question that the nuclear option in option B, in task 2, is a better option compared to something like a shopping mall, and I'm giving reasons for that. So very good connectors and assertive wordings which are tone appropriate in those situations. But we also have situations with informal words, some things like long story short, when you're summarizing, this is perfect for your conclusions. You could also say, let's touch base, which means let's talk soon, let's touch base after 2 weeks. Or off the record, just off the record, I wanted to tell you something. So just away from what I'm talking about, let's not make it official, just off the record, it's between you and me. It's not something you want to mention to others. Very good idiomatic expressions, and remember, idiomatic expressions have marks in the CELPIP exam. Finally, the formal questions, formal answers. You want to use words like in light of, which means considering this. Instead of considering, just say in light of. Next, from my perspective. Instead of saying in my opinion, you can say from my perspective. Next, upon careful review. Now, this is something you can say in your conclusion instead of saying overall. And again, you can say overall, but you can also use these words, which are 2 words or 3 words or more, and you should, because they give you more marks. The more words and phrases and combinations you have, especially usage of advanced words and phrases like these, you ensure a high score in your CELPIP writing and speaking. Guys, that's it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll talk very soon. Take care.